welcome to this episode of H2O Global News's stream series. Today we'll be discussing the functions and benefits of nature-based solutions such as wetlands. My name's Darby and I am one of the staff writers here at H2O Global News. And in this episode, I am excited to introduce you to Chris Gerrard, Catchment and Biodiversity Manager at Anglian Water Services. Chris, please could you just give us a quick introduction to yourself and let our listeners know what your role at Anglian Water involves.
Hi there, yeah, it's great to be here. I'm the Catchment and Biodiversity Manager, as you say, so my role in Anglian Water is to support the delivery of a lot of the company's ambition for biodiversity and nature recovery, and also have a team of farm advisors who work with farmers and others in the agricultural sector to help them address the problems that they can sometimes cause for water quality and water flow. And that's particularly important to us, of course, because we abstract that water and sometimes things like nutrients can cause a problem for us. So we work in a business-to-business relationship with farmers to help them play their part in supporting river health.
Amazing. And a lot of our listeners might not know much about nature-based solutions. So could you just give us a brief overview of how wetlands work and what the environmental benefits are?
Certainly. So nature-based solutions are solutions that address problems that we have as a water company to address, but do it in a way which is hopefully nature positive, essentially. So treatment wetlands are a great example of a nature-based solution. They're essentially a way of replacing chemical and power-hungry water treatment approaches with more natural treatment approaches. So we treat the sewage that we receive from our customers, but then we put it into a wetland, and the wetland itself actually achieves some sort of water quality improvement that we need to deliver, and it does that through the natural interaction of plants and animals and bacteria and indeed sunlight working on that water before it is discharged into the river at the quality that the Environment Agency, the regulator, has required it to be in. And I should say, of course, alongside doing that, it's brilliant for biodiversity because we're building a wetland which is going to be rich in wildlife. It's probably going to have a better carbon profile as well. It might have less capital carbon to build, and these places can be great places to visit as well. So if they're publicly accessible, they're fantastic for amenity, fantastic for physical and mental health. So these sorts of nature-based solutions have the ability to deliver a different value proposition to what the traditional solution would have been, which is typically expensive, bricks and mortar, chemical and power. So very good at achieving that narrow thing that it needs to achieve in water quality, but very rarely would it deliver any wider benefits for nature or for people.
Yeah, amazing. So touching up on that and expanding, what alternative methods does Anglian Water specifically avoid by implementing the nature-based solutions, particularly in the wastewater treatment systems? And why is this important, particularly for the customers?
Well, the typical solution for water treatment for things like phosphate would be chemical dosing. So essentially, in that circumstance, phosphate, which is not good for a river in elevated levels, needs to be removed. And the traditional solution is to dose that water with a chemical so that the phosphate essentially settles out and can be collected and taken away. That's brilliant for the river because the low phosphate levels means that the river will be supporting a broader range of wildlife that you would expect it to have. But as I said, it can be quite expensive, and it requires chemicals, and it requires power, and it requires tankering as well. So it means that the ongoing costs of these things can be quite significant. The carbon footprint can be quite significant as well, and we all know we need to lean in and play a part in addressing climate change as well. So for a customer's perspective, it just means it's typically more expensive, and you just don't get that wider benefit that you can get from a nature-based solution. So the important thing is that we have nature-based solutions on hand, and where we need them, traditional solutions on hand. So we just have more options, and it enables us just to make the right decision in the right place. But where we can, we want to take a nature first approach because of that wider benefits for people and wildlife.
Amazing. And part of Anglian Water is the Anglian Water's Wetlands Initiative. So what is the primary goal of that in the east of England?
Well, every year, every 5-year business plan period, water companies up and down the land will be investing a lot of money in improving water quality, and that will be to meet ever more stringent water quality levels. So we're constantly increasing the quality of water that we discharge back into the environment. We've got a lot of that to deliver over the current business plan period that we're sitting, that finishes in 2025, and we'll have a lot more between 25 and 2030. And so our aim is to, where possible, use wetlands. So because of the wider value they bring us, they are our preferred approach, because it's great for wildlife, great for our carbon footprint as well, great for people. So if we can deliver it, then we will. And what we're really keen to do is to work with landowners and regulators and organisations like rivers trusts to really help us maximise the number of solutions that we can deliver through a wetland approach, and reduce the number that we would deliver through a more traditional approach. And ideally, what we would do, well, we'd like to deliver them everywhere, but it's really important if we can deliver them in particular places, perhaps where there's a special plan for nature recovery through the creation of wetlands in a landscape, or where it's close to people and that wetland might bring a wider benefit in terms of public access and recreation. So we would want to build them anywhere, but they're particularly useful when we can actually put them in a place where there's already a stated need for nature restoration type activities in catchments to improve biodiversity, but also to improve that wider river health. So we're super enthusiastic for them. There's so many benefits that they can get, and that's why we just want to maximise the number that we can be building in any business planning period.
And how many do you plan with before the next deadline, or
so up to 2030 we're looking at up to 26 wetlands. That's in the plan, and if we can do more, then we would. Technology is changing all the time, opportunities turn up all the time as well, so we're always got our ear to the ground. If there's another opportunity to build one, then we certainly will, but the number that we put in our plan is kind of based on what we already know about the needs that we need to satisfy, the land, the areas where these might be built. So we have to have a bit of an estimate at it, and then when it comes to delivery, there are constraints, but nevertheless that's what we said, and as I say, if we can build more, we certainly will do.
Yeah, and you touched upon rivers, and I'm from England as well, and we have a lot of chalk stream habitats, and these are nutrient rich, clear water and supporting lots of life, and what is the significance of them in your particular area in the east of England?
Well, they're a globally rare habitat. There's only about 300 chalk streams in the world, and a lot of them are in our region, and about 2/3 of them also are in England. So this country has a global importance in chalk streams, a global responsibility in protecting and enhancing them, and of course water companies have a massive responsibility there, both in the way we abstract water from them and the quality of water that we put back. And so things like treatment wetlands play a role there. In fact, there's 3 treatment wetlands in East Anglia at the moment that we've been involved in one way or another, and they're all on chalk streams, because all things being equal, if you look across chalk streams and other types of rivers, chalk streams are more important. They have a rarer biodiversity typically. They're an unusual habitat, so it's really important that we can have as many levers as possible to pull to enable us to invest in these types of habitats. And it's really well worth, if your listeners haven't been to a chalk stream, if you have the chance to go and see a classic chalk stream, it's really well worth it. So That's why we are really focusing a lot of our investment, particularly in our next business plan period, on chalk streams and trying to find new ways of working with government, with regulators, and with local communities and charities, conservation organisations, to find ways to really accelerate the restoration of these places, because they're such beautiful places and so critically important for biodiversity.
Yeah. And at Anglian Water, what is the Get River Positive commitment? We've spoken about it, the rivers, so our listeners would probably love to know more about this.
Yeah, Get River Positive is an initiative that we established a few years ago with Severn Trent, actually, another water company in England. For us, Get River Positive is a set of 5 stated pledges that we've made so that people could see our ambition and our commitment to improve river health. It's fair to say water companies have come under a lot of scrutiny from government and environmental organisations over the last few years, and Get River Positive is one of the ways in which we're just trying to be clear and transparent about our own ambition and commitment for improving river health in the area of England that we serve in east of England. So there's commitments around reducing storm overflows, around creating opportunities for people to enjoy rivers, supporting others to improve and care for rivers, so funding third-party organisations to restore river habitats, for example, creating opportunities for new habitats and wildlife. So a good example there is we funded a beaver reintroduction into Essex in the southeast of our region to improve flooding conditions downstream, but actually beavers are so amazing for biodiversity as well, so it's a brilliant example there. And we also got a pledge around transparency too. We've got a lot of data, we've got a lot of performance information, and not much of it at the moment gets into the public domain. And so we're really seeing what we can do to address that, to help people understand what we do and why. So these 5 commitments are helping people to understand the work that we are going to do as a company over the long term to improve river health. And we've also created a fund that organisations can apply to Anglian Water in order to do things like improving wildlife habitats on rivers, or helping people to enjoy their river, or even helping people get involved in citizen science and going out and monitoring river health. So it's a great initiative. We delivered some fantastic things with it already, and I'm sure there'll be many more benefits to come over the next year and a half or so as Get River Positive continues.
Yeah, well, we're excited to hear more about that, and I'm sure that we'll be sharing that with our community when that does come out. And going back to the wetlands programme, how much are you investing in it?
The wetlands programme is around about a £50 million programme at the moment, so this just shows it's it's a big programme, a lot of money going at it. Treatment wetlands can be cheaper than traditional solutions, not necessarily, because sometimes you might have to buy land or have some sort of arrangements there. So the question about wetlands is the value you get from them in the round. Does it make it the right thing to do? But that's what we've put into the program over the next decade, and say if we can find more opportunities to build more wetlands, then that fund will grow as we move from more traditional solutions into these nature-based solutions.
And what locations do you expect to do? Do you want to expand the wetlands initiative in the UK, or?
Well, yes. So we are delivering water quality improvements in every single county that we serve in east of England, often several times in the same catchment. And so we're looking at all of those locations to see if they're suitable for treatment wetlands. So, for example, we need to understand the groundwater conditions, and groundwater may make building a treatment wetland more difficult. So there's all sorts of site considerations that we have to do. But at the moment, we'll have essentially a blank canvas, and where we can build them, we'll certainly look to. But actually, beyond our region, we are obviously very keen for other water companies and other organisations that can make use of nature-based solutions to do them as well. And so we helped working with Norfolk Rivers Trust and the Environment Agency in a partnership project in West Norfolk in our region. That we built the first proper open water treatment wetland. And that attracted a lot of interest from other water companies, as well as other organisations involved in the water sector. And so that has hopefully inspired other water companies to do similar things. So it'd be great if as we run up towards 2030, we can see every water company with a water treatment role using these sorts of nature-based solutions as essentially business as usual, now that the case for them has been proven in several locations in the east of England. There's really no reason why other water companies can't follow suit.
Absolutely. We've all got to do our part to protect them. And for the general public, this can be anything from supporting, participating in local conservation initiatives, like you said, and practicing responsible recreational activities. We want to minimize that human impact, and also so we can enjoy it. I've been to wetlands in the UK, and they are beautiful ecosystems, the birds, the nature that goes beyond that. They are absolutely stunning.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
How can our listeners learn more about these nature-based solutions? We'll pop a link down below.
Well, I'd certainly suggest people keep an eye on the Anglian Water website and our newsfeed when we're building wetlands, and we're able to. We certainly publicise that way. We have an annual report, which I know isn't most people's idea of a fun read, to read a utility company's annual report, but actually, our annual report sets out a lot of the really great, exciting, innovative work that we do as a company, including nature-based solutions, so people can have a look there. And if you're local to Anglian Water, then often news about treatment wetlands that we build will go into the local press as well. So there's plenty of ways, hopefully, that people can keep up to date with what we're doing in this space.
Amazing. And is there anything else that you'd like to add today for our listeners?
Well, I think all I'd say is that they're obviously not the only nature-based solution in town at the moment, and so it would be great to see different types of nature-based solutions for different problems. The other big one for us would be sustainable drainage systems. So where there's a lot of rainfall in an urban or rural area, how can we catch that water and make better use of it, rather than it going straight into the sewer and then potentially causing a sewer overflow, which nobody wants to see. So we're working with flood authorities and local authorities and others to identify locations where we can create mini, I suppose, little wetlands in urban areas to hold onto that water and let it then recede more gently into the sewer network, if at all. And that it does the same as treatment wetlands in the same. It does treat the water partially, but also it's better for wildlife. It's aesthetically pleasing as well, right near where people live. And so nature-based solutions are only going to expand for utilities like Anglian Water and other utility sectors. So hopefully we'll see a lot of support from government and other agencies to really help us move in that direction, because it's going to be better for our customers, better for biodiversity, and better for the communities that we serve.
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely. Well, I want to thank you for your time today. It's been amazing to learn more about the company and the work that you do. And yeah, let's protect them. Let's learn more about that in your annual report. And thank you for speaking again.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.